Greetings, everybody out there on YouTube. It's your buddy Choppadon coming at you another episode of Chop Talk, brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for everything DFS, from all sports coaching tools, optimized lineups. The coaching's really where it's at. To be quite honest with you, you need to be a VIP to try us out, to make yourself a better player starting today. Click the link in the comments section, DFSArmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, and get in today so you can start using the optimizers and the tools in the research station for yourself tonight. Jump now. Don't wait. Jump now. Let's dive into the slate. I'm going to do three things for you today because I have an opportunity to go to the baseball game, so I'm going to do this really, really quickly. I live in St. Louis. I got an opportunity from a cousin to do the sweet life with Zach and Cody. Go up there, get the free drinks, get the free food, all that stuff. Take the family and, maybe visit Fredbird. I don't freaking know what's going to happen tonight, but I get to go to about 2 or 3 games a year, and this is one of them. And they've got a sweet T-shirt giveaway, so hopefully I get one of those with a mystery number on the back, and it's Matt Carpenter or somebody like that I can turn around and freaking sell on eBay, because that'd be my big neener to you that I'm at the game, you're not, you're watching on TV. Anyway, I'm going to stop rubbing it in now. What we're going to do, we're going to bust up 3 slates. Those are my 3 gifts to you. I'm going to show you how quickly you can do this and talk and go a little bit into depth, but not a ton into depth because you don't really need to. Okay? First thing we're going to do is dive out here onto our backup plan, because we don't have weather forecasts in the research station. We do in our Slack channels with Mark, the meteorologist. Dude's awesome, but I don't show you any of his stuff very often because he's a VIP only kind of guy. Now, I'll show you what I think out here, and I think that the Yankees are dangerous. I think that as the game goes on a little bit later, there's chances for rain. Now, I don't know if that means the arms are in jeopardy or not, but if you're looking at Lance Lynn, you might pay attention to something like that. The Washington Nationals, not so much. I don't see, a lot of times these lower percentage chances of rain don't turn into postponements, but these higher percentage of chances can. It's not quite up into the 70-80% range where I really start to freak out, but it is worth paying attention to in Pittsburgh tonight, in Cleveland tonight, in Boston a little bit, maybe like a delayed start type of situation. And I look over here in Cincinnati, and this one here is probably not going to go postponed, but it's going to be trouble. So that might get you onto the bats and off of the pitching. And hopefully, Cincinnati's in a pretty good spot tonight. Hopefully, that gets a lot of people off those bats and they end up performing tonight. When I look down here, a lot of rain chances. Atlanta has a few, and now I think we pretty much dry it out as we go out west. But the point is, you typically, when you get to 50-50 chances of rain, you want to be cautious about the arms. When you get to an 80% chance of rain for a few hours, you want to be really cautious even about the bats. That's typically my rule of thumb. Yeah, you can gamble, you can do this, you can do that, but typically my rule of thumb is more than 50-50 chances of rain, and I don't like the arms anymore. I will look at the time and the hours at when that rain's supposed to occur and judge whether or not it's late in the game, that starter's probably already gone, or whether it's earlier in the game and we might get a delayed start. If we get a delayed start, no harm, no foul. Pitchers can go through that. What they don't want is to get 3 innings in and then get yanked for a rain delay. They don't want to get tarped. That ends up screwing you out of points. So let's dive into the research station. I had to use these odds here when I tell them to you, and these implied totals, because our research station, for whatever reason, the Vegas totals today are down. I guess it's a glitch in where they pull the information for. I don't understand technicalities and stuff like that. I just do what I'm told and look at the numbers that I see in front of me. But I've always got a backup. If I don't have any of these numbers, I can go to a Fangraphs or I can go to other sites, right? That's what I do. I always know where to look. That way I'm never completely dependent on one site. But I will tell you this, it's nice to have it all in one place. All in front of your eyes, right here, side by side by side. And this Trends tab is unbelievable. If you're thinking about becoming a VIP, you need to check this Trends tab out. It's what we use as a foundation for our slates. It's what we try to use for depicting hot batters. And I'll show you how when we get there. But so let's dive in. Let's bust up all 3 slates here really, really quick. First thing you do is you take the K percentage of the pitchers. You're trying to find K score, which is K percentage, opposite K percentage, added together, subtract the decimal point, and you get a number, a 3-digit number. In this case, 57%, 22.5 plus 34.5, 57% for Max Scherzer. Strikeout potential tonight. Remove the decimal point, 570. Anything over 500 is great. It's a sliding scale. It tells you that when one side's high, the other side can be a little bit lower, and it's still a good matchup. When the other side is high and the other side's lower, it's still a good matchup. When both sides are high, it's a great matchup. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find the great matchups. You want to combine the K-score with the price, with the Vegas odds, and you want to take a look at it that way and see if you can't find a few pitchers to focus on tonight. Tonight's so deep in pitching on the main slate, you can't focus on all of it. Scherzer, Ray, Peralta, Flaherty, Morton, Carrasco, Buehler, all for different reasons are sort of in play. Even Lance Lynn, even maybe Kyle Gibson. The price points are all pretty attractive, and they're facing some weaker offenses, and their K-scores are all fairly high. We've got some massive Vegas favorites tonight. So I'm going to run through them with you, so take notes because I'm not going to be able to show you everything on the screen. So are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Max Scherzer, 12.2 salary, 12,200. Nobody was price gapped on DK. So just so you know, there's not a lot of that to look at tonight. Max Scherzer, 12,200 on Fanduel. Minus 410 out of Vegas. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. That's like go put your car keys down and, or put your house down and win back your garage's profit. I mean, that's so crazy with how big those odds are, how sure Vegas is that Scherzer's going to win the game or that Washington's going to win the game over Miami, that they're giving him a 4-1 favorite. That's crazy. But that means that it's a very, very good sign that Max Scherzer's going to be going the distance and getting the win himself. So that's a few extra points for you. A 570 K-score we already discussed is going to be the highest on the slate. The DFS grade actually is a 99. I'll tell you that too because sometimes that can break some ties for us. So 12.2 minus 410, 570, and a 99. That is our benchmark. When I look at Robbie Ray's an 8.3. That's the salary, 8,300. Minus 125, not nearly as good as a minus 400. 560 is nearly as good as a 570 K-score. A 70 DFS grade is a little bit lower. For the $4,000 savings, Robbie Ray's in play. If you can go to his game logs and verify that he's okay recently. This may be, this goes back 2017, 2018. It may be really banking on last year's numbers based on his past few months. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't maybe come, balls to the wall like we'd like to see. So you're going to have to go look for the recency. I'm just telling you what shows up on paper. I dig into these things too. I haven't used Robbie Ray for quite a while. That's why I would go looking at him. I haven't used him for quite a while because on the slates I'm using, he's either in there with James Paxton or he's in there with, somebody else, like maybe a Scherzer or whatever, and it just makes more sense to use the other guys. But when a night like tonight comes up and he's $4,000 cheaper, I'm going to go look at him because I might want to use him. Freddie Peralta in Milwaukee or in St. Louis with Milwaukee, 7,900, a little bit cheaper than the 8,300 that Robbie Ray is, but he's an underdog. He's a plus 105 out of Vegas. 533 K-score is pretty good. The 49 DFS grade's not great. And I just lied there. Yeah, they're in St. Louis. What am I talking about? I've got them on my sheet a little bit out of order, so I apologize. I've got to go down. I skipped it somewhere and got out of order. But anyway, Freddie Peralta kind of in play. Jack Flaherty kind of in play. He's $800 more expensive than Robbie Ray, so I'm going to need to see something to make me want to spend that $800. He's got a minus 115 out of Vegas, which is actually a little worse than Robbie Ray. 539 K-score, which is a little worse than Robbie Ray. So again, without double checking Robbie Ray's status, I'd be leaning Robbie Ray over Jack Flaherty. If I see a bunch of trash, then I might use Jack Flaherty in the $800. Carlos Carrasco has weather concerns. Cleveland plays tonight in Baltimore, or Baltimore plays in Cleveland, wherever the hell the game is. $11,000 for Carrasco. Minus 410 again. Another minus 410. It's crazy. But his K-score is lower to 519. So when I look at the same Vegas number and $1,000 cheaper than Scherzer, but a much lower K-score, 519 versus 570, I'm going to opt for Scherzer. But because of that, Carrasco becomes a great GPP pivot. A lot of people might see what we see in Max Scherzer, and I don't know if they're going to spend up for him. And it is a huge slate where ownership gets spread out. But Carrasco is going to become a good GPP pivot if people gravitate towards Scherzer. Charlie Morton, 500 K-score is okay. Minus 145 out of Vegas is all right, but a $10,000 pitcher, I'd rather save $1,500 and take Robbie Ray again without looking deeper into Robbie Ray. Walker Buehler, 8,500, minus 120, 461 K-score, not nearly as good, probably not even in play for me tonight. Lance Lynn, I need to mention something I was forgetting. Hopefully it comes back to my head. Lance Lynn, 7,700. Is the reverse of the Robbie Ray. You might look into his recency to see if he is actually performing well, because I believe he is, because I know I've used him and had some success with him. 7,700 is pretty cheap. That might be better than the 8,300 you're paying for Robbie Ray. Minus 175 is clearly better than a minus 125 Ray's carrying. 436 is where we suffered, though, because instead of a K score well over 500 at the 560 with Robbie Ray, we're way under it at 436 with Lance Lynn. That's why I'd go looking again at the recency to see if Lance Lynn's striking people out again, because if he is, that K score is kind of a bit of hooey based on the last year, or in April and May when he was really, really bad. And it's probably running a little bit better than that tonight, and it may push him up 470, 480 in K score. And if it does, now we're talking. Because I'd love to use a $7,700 pitcher if I can justify it. But I have to be able to justify it. I'm not going to do it just to do it to take expensive bats. I have to actually be able to justify it. All right? So now when we cut up those pitchers, and that was a lot of talking because it was a deep, deep pitching slate. If I had to pick a couple of pitchers, Scherzer, of course, would be one. Probably Robbie Ray, probably Lance Lynn. Those would be my favorites on the slate. Just knowing what little I know and what little digging I've done. When I scroll over here, I'm going to sort by DFS grade to get checkbox number 1. I'm going to pull all the crap to the top, all the pink. We're going to come all the way down here to about the 40 mark. So Minor, Rodriguez, somewhere in there. Scroll back over, and I'm going to write these offenses down. They get 1 star. Cleveland, Texas, Chicago, Arizona, Houston, Atlanta, Minnesota, LA Dodgers, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Cincinnati, maybe LA, maybe the Angels. All right? 1 star. I go to the Vegas implied run total, which I already showed you. I had to use these types of numbers. Look for anything about 4.9 or 5 or higher and write them down. New York, Washington, Cleveland, Boston, Cincinnati, LA Angels, Texas Rangers. Those are your high implied run totals tonight. You already see Cleveland on the list 2 times. You see Cincinnati on the list 2 times. You see Texas on the list 2 times. Those are your 2-star offenses already. What we're aiming for is a 3-star offense. It's what I want to see. So I'm going to find that 3rd star by coming over here to the versus left and versus right splits in the research station. Sort by the WOBA. Kill that descending number down so that all the pink comes to the top. Looking for double pink. Who's pink over here? I see David Hess. I see Dan Straley. I see Junison Gibson. And I see, is that Lucchesi or Shields? It's Shields. I get down into here. The pink starts going away. I don't know that I would include a Sean Newcomb, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him get nuked tonight. Hey, Colorado puts him in a pretty good spot. So when I'm looking at the guys that are on this list now, it's Kansas City, Detroit, Chicago White Sox, Washington, Houston, and Cleveland. Cleveland's on all 3 lists. Cleveland is your only 3-star offense tonight. Your 2-star offenses tonight, Washington, Cincinnati, Texas, and Houston. That's them. So on this slate, I'm going to try and dig into the trends tab and figure out in those offenses who are my hot bats. Doesn't mean the other offenses aren't playable. It just means they may not be in the best spots on paper. They're still playable. You could still use them. I kick over to Cleveland. I've already sorted this by 350 or higher to kick out the trash. Ramirez, Brantley, Kipnis, Cabrera, and Diaz. Come down here to Washington. Look for the same number. Harper, Murphy, Rendon, Zimmerman, Wieters. Cincinnati. Tucker, Barnhart, Casali, Hamilton, Peraza. No Votto. Interesting. Look at Texas. Chu, Guzman, Robinson, Calhoun. If they're getting at bats, which Robinson's not. Houston's the black hole because, poof. Where'd they go? Where did Houston go? Now, I might look at numbers like xWOBA, what they should be doing. Hard contact. What are they hitting the ball hard? Are they getting ready to break out? They had a good game a couple of days ago. Are they getting ready to break out, or are they still cold? Right now, they're still cold, and that throws me off. When they get into a great spot, and they're also a good offense typically, that really throws me off. You could play the big bats in there and just go on a hunch that they're going to break out tonight, and if you get lucky, that's fine. I don't like doing that for cash game type situations because, honestly, I don't have any indicator that they're swinging well. Why would I take schlubs? If you're swinging like a schlub, why would I take a schlub? In a cash game when I'm not supposed to be taking risk. Taking a cold bat and betting on it heating up tonight is taking a risk. That's not what you do in cash type games. Tournaments, hell, all bets are off. Let your freak flag fly in tournaments. But that's the general gist of what we're trying to do. Those are your playables. Again, I'm not saying these are the only offenses to play. I'm saying those are the stacks that I'd be using. Those are the core I'd be building around. those guys. And I'd be hoping they have a good night. So now we're going to go back to the starting matchups page. We're going to kill all the games but the 8 o'clock games. And I'm going to start all over again. This is the express slate. We're going to see what changes, because sometimes things change. I'm going to run over to the K percentage again, sort by descending. Oops, that's opponent's K. I need to do the pitcher's K. Fell asleep at the wheel there. And look who jumps to the top, Peralta and Flaherty. Did we already talk about them? Did we already talk about some of these guys aren't great pitchers? Maybe you'd use a Kyle Gibson to be a little sneaky, but you might be stacking against Shields, Despani. These guys are the lower rated strikeout guys on the slate. When I come down here, there's what? These bottom 3 and maybe Mike Minor. Maybe even Freddie Peralta. That's interesting. These are the guys that you're after when you're looking to attack guys. Mike Minor, LA, good spot. Possibly St. Louis. A little more of a GPP type of play tonight. Minnesota, Kansas City, Texas. Go over here, do the double red thing again. I mean, it really didn't take us long to find bats or pitchers to use. You know, Flaherty and Peralta. Now we're looking double pink, and we see a little bit in this little section here. Junis, Gibson, Shields. Those are more or less your 2- and 3-star offenses tonight. Chicago, Detroit, Kansas City. Oh, yuck. Those are my 3 most hated offenses the last week or so in Chin Music, because they're in a shitty division. They find them, that's what I was going to tell you. They find themselves in a great spot every single night because such a shitty division with such shitty pitching. It makes you tempted to use these offenses that can't hit a ball off a tee. It blows my mind. The thing I was going to tell you about division and interdivision stuff, like Max Scherzer tonight facing Miami on the main slate, you want to check BVP against those pitchers, because sometimes a team like Atlanta handles a Max Scherzer pretty well. And even though he's got great numbers on paper, it ain't the matchup you necessarily want to be using him in. Double check, make sure Miami doesn't have his number too. You get larger sample sizes with BVP when you're using the larger, the teams that play each other a lot in the same division. St. Louis and Milwaukee, same thing. If LA was playing San Diego, same thing. Those are the types of games that you're looking for with the divisional games. That's when you start really looking for BVP numbers, okay? Because you get the bigger sample sizes that way. That's just a little bonus tip to you. So now that we've sort of identified Texas, Minnesota, LA, I mean, we want to avoid these a little bit, but if they're in a good spot, maybe on a smaller slate, they make sense. On the larger slate, it's just, to me, it's not worth the risk. You're really gambling. I go to the trends tab. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to knock down those 8 o'clock games just to those. And now what we're going to start doing is we've already got it at 350, remember? Might as well look at Chicago. They hit the list. There's your playables. Davidson, Makata, Navarez, Sanchez, Engel, if you get to start. Detroit was playable. Castellanos and Goodrum most notably. Kansas City, Perez, O'Hearn, Mondesi. Those were the 3 guys that I'm telling you I don't like the offenses. But you want to play from them a little bit, mix and match, go for it. LA was in a better spot on paper. Upton, Calhoun. Those types are definitely in play. The only ones we're really staying away from, it looks like, are St. Louis and Milwaukee, because they're facing the better pitchers on the slate. St. Louis is a sneaky stack. Polanco and Wilson in Minnesota. There's nobody running hot in Minnesota right now. Probably shouldn't, like Houston, probably should either be looking for hard contact, ex-WOBA type indicators, or you should probably just be fading them. Now look at Texas, Chu Guzman, Drew Robinson, Willie Calhoun. Robinson's not getting at-bats, as evidenced by the pink here. But another offense that you could target. Take a couple of those guys out of there. Tonight might be a little more of a balanced slate on that express slate, in that it's maybe 2 bats from each offense as opposed to a big full 4 stack, because there's no offenses that are really, really rolling hard on that slate. I'm going to set it up for the after-hour slate here really quick, and then we're going to wrap it up, and we're going to get you Friday back to you. But it just doesn't take long when you have access to these tools and you know how to use them. Bring guys up to the top, and you're going to find the same names. You just can't avoid it. These are guys that are eligible out on the main. Robbie Ray, Charlie Morton, Walker Buehler. They also carry your higher DFSA grades. Your lower DFSA grades are stackable against small 3-game slate, Arizona, LA, Houston. We already noticed we can't find anybody much out of Houston. Let's check LA and Houston and Arizona. They might actually be. Now, could you get crazy? And I mean, it's not like these guys are such superstar aces. You can't run some of these other bats. But on these smaller slates, the tournaments usually aren't big enough to where you turn $1,000 or $1 into $10,000, where it's really justifying the risk to go way against the grain. You can. It's not going to kill you. All right. Looking here, stacking against the pitchers with Arizona, LA, Houston, high implied run totals. We saw a couple of those mentioned back on the main. Let's double check them again here real fast. After hours slate. No, but no line here yet. Well, okay, 4.6 is blocked. Nobody over a 5. This might be a lower scoring slate. You might have to take a Houston or an LA just to get some implied totals at Arizona. Those are your 3 again, but they're not that far separated from the others. So not a real impressive offensive slate unless we can find some double red. Up top here, Edwin Jackson. Looks like about it. You might take lefties against LeBlanc. It would be another way to go. LA Dodgers lefties. Jock Peterson, ring a bell. Cody Bellinger. I think they're lefties. But Edwin Jackson in Houston, dadgummit, man. If Houston was only running better, I'd be so high on them. God, I'd be so high on them. I'd be hungry. But it's just amazing to me how sometimes the best offenses on paper in the best spots and the best matchups actually just don't have anything to offer. It's like that whole freaking American League division that I just showed you with Chicago and Detroit and Kansas City. All right, Arizona was on the list. Goldschmidt, Descalso, and Jay. That's who I would start with. This is, again, what I'm showing you is the core stack. I'm not saying don't put a 4th guy in there. I'm saying I don't know who it would be. I like Goldschmidt, Descalso, and Jay. If they get the starts tonight, love them. Houston, blech. LA, notably lefties. Please be some. 2 of them. Muncy and Bellinger. Boom, boom. Muncy's price dropped off. Look at the DK price gap. Look at that. Man, you might run him in cash on the main slate or something like that. 2,700 is so far, unless this is dialed down for the later slate for some reason. But if Muncy's 2,700 out on the main slate, oh dear Lord. You run him into Kiki Hernandez. And look, here, oh man, Wade LeBlanc, we said he gives up bad WOBA to lefties. He's a lefty. So everyone's always afraid of this lefty-lefty matchup. Screw that. Take Muncy and Bellinger tonight. Go lefty on lefty. You've got the numbers to prove that LeBlanc does not do well against left-handed bats. Muncy and Bellinger are hot right now, running over 430 WOBA for both of them. And nobody's going to touch them tonight. Probably not even on the 3-game slate because they see that lefty versus lefty and they run away. God, I'd be all over those guys like stink on shit. Unbelievable. There's that. Man, I should have saved that for the VIPs. Woo! That's a smoking tip right there. Smoking tip. Yep. Friday, innuendo running through my mind. I'm not even going to look at these other offenses. Don't really care. These would be the ones I'd focus on. I would try to find some Houston bats, being that they are in a good spot. But I would be running the double lefties out of LA. I'd be running a little bit of Arizona with them. And that'd be the 3rd slate. So I've done 3 slates here in, 23 minutes and 45 seconds with a lot of talking in between and sharing a little bit of strategy and a little bit of tippage. Telling you. So here's how you can return the favor to me. You like and you subscribe to the channel. You follow me out on Twitter. You become a VIP by clicking the DFS Army link and joining the club. Because then we can talk a little bit more one-on-one. We can become, like they say in the movie Grease, lifelong friends. And all I'm telling you is the coaching is going to make you a better player because I've got over 20 guys on staff that are dedicated to helping you become a better player. Stop the bleeding. Stop the redepositing. Become a profitable player. And who knows? Maybe you go from being an average Joe to a DFS pro. That's the whole idea of DFS Army. We're just trying to take people that want to get better and make them better. Sky's the limit for you. You put in the work, you put in the time, you're going to get out of slack what you put into it. These are the kind of people we're looking for. If that describes you, today's Friday, probably payday for you. Jump in. It's not too late to eat up this Friday night slate, especially the later games. Let's go win some baseball money, guys. Football's around the corner. We're going to start talking football here in a couple of weeks. We're going to cap off baseball here all season long. Get in here. The getting's good. DFSArmy.com. I'm your buddy Chopadong. I'll talk to you this weekend. If not, see you Monday.